I found a very rare tree. Let me back up a little bit so you can see it. This is in the magnolia family. I have waited 8 years to confirm what this tree is. It didn't bloom the first year I was here, and it got knocked over by a hurricane, which is why it now has a funny looking stump. And it's come back from that stump, and it has bloomed for the first time since I've lived in this area, which gave me the opportunity to ID this tree. That's what the flowers look like. That's what the leaves look like. Now, like I said, it's in the magnolia family. It's native to southern Asia, Southeast Asia, out in the Philippines and even northern Australia. This is a ylang tree. Very, very rare. And this one is even more rare than the ones that I have seen in South Florida. See, generally speaking, when I find these, they have a yellow bloom, with the occasional one with a deep mauvey red bloom. This one has white bloom. This thing is awesome. I've never seen one this far north. The homeowner's wife grew this. She was from Southeast Asia. This tree is about 30 years old. Now this is what sprouted back since it got blown down by a hurricane some 6-7 years ago. Looks absolutely incredible tree. Now, an interesting fact about this tree is it is often called a perfume tree. And the reason why it's called a perfume tree is because Chanel No. 5, along with many other perfumes, but most famous is Chanel No. 5. This is the plant that Chanel No. 5 comes from. An extract from these flowers. It is just awesome to find this. Never seen one this far north. I've seen them quite often down South Florida, Southwest Florida. Furthest north I personally have ever seen one was the Sarasota area. So to find this in central Brevard County is just incredible. Extremely rare tree in the United States to begin with. It being the white bloom variety means it's even more rare. Just an absolute fantastic find. The smell on this is very similar to jasmine, not quite as sweet. It's like halfway between a good jasmine and a magnolia. Like I said, it is in the magnolia family. Absolutely incredible. The blooms remind me a lot of a citrus bloom, of an orange bloom. It's just bigger. They're not very showy overall, but they are cool. And this one's going to be blooming for a while. These are actual buds that haven't opened yet. I'll be waiting to see if it sets any of its fruit, which is kind of like a little cone, little seed pod. Just fantastic. I noticed yesterday it was blooming and talked to the homeowner and got just enough information for me to confirm its identity. He came back today and he was nice enough to let me be able to film it. Just fantastic. And see kind of close up on this flower, if it'll focus. There we go. See, that's a lot like how a magnolia is, just smaller, a little centerpiece. Now, they make a extract out of these flowers. Now, there's a couple different ways I have heard of it being done. I've never personally done it. One is by soaking it, making a tea, and then boiling that down to get the oil. The other way that I've heard of is by soaking these directly in a alcohol, pulling the oils out of it that way, and then using the alcohol to add to perfumes. But that's just an incredible find right there. It's not something I get to see on a regular basis. I'm gonna back up far enough so that you can see how big it is. It's about 60 feet. There it is. Now that's entirely grown back since it was knocked down from a hurricane. It's got a really interesting stump now. Get in here and you can kind of take a closer look at the stump. See, it's kind of growing up over its own stump. This thing completely fell down. It was pushed down by a hurricane. Took out his fence. Said, I've waited 8 years to confirm the ID of this plant. I now know exactly what it is. Very exciting. That is the ylang tree. Also called a perfume tree, and sometimes called a poor man's jasmine. Lovely find.